Joining me now is Dr. Erik Fisher, a psychologist and an author here in Atlanta. And let's talk, if we can, about the information that we have learned that the co-pilot having a doctor's note saying that he should not have been at work. I mean, there are so many twists and turns. Does this have any increased bearing on how this is played out or what should have played out?
Well, we don't know what the reasons were. Were they medical or were they psychological? The note was cut up. So some of the things you look in what we find out about the data is what was his emotional state at the time that he received this letter. You know, there was a breakup of relationship, again, reportedly a breakup of relationship, the reported of the letter here, that it sounds like there's some emotions he was going through, whether it be rage or betrayal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a lot of people talked about depression, and looking at this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's depression either. It could be a brief emotional reaction to an event.
We all go through these sorts of instances of relationships that break up. Things in our life aren't going well. We may be predispositioned to not handling them well, but to assume that there can be a set of safety nets. Somehow or other, you're going to be able to figure out whether a 27-year-old kid flying a plane is fit to do this or is simply an unrealistic desire, don't you think? Well, there's nothing you can do about this.
Well, there isn't, because we have to look at all aspects of people who are in a position of transporting large numbers of people in a place, basically it's a public safety issue. People who drive buses, trains, planes, you know, even people who are transporting large vehicles of trucks or things like that, that they could be a risk to people. This is very difficult to then start to pick and decide who gets to do what and when, because there are plenty of people out there who live their life safely and responsibly who might have depression or other psychological issues.
We never think about it, getting into a cab. Give me a sense of what you think the fallout from all of this will be, at least for pilots around the world. Do you believe that this will be a watershed event that will change how pilots get into the cockpit?
Well, you've had two potential incidences within a year between the MH370, where there's speculation of potential
and then the
suicide.
Egypt Air flight back in 1999,
exactly,
where the pilot took it into the ocean.
Yeah, and so you have these events that are really starting to raise, you know, we can say red flags. It's so rare that they happen, so we see the illusory correlation, meaning something that looks like it happens a lot more than it does because it's such a huge news event. But we really have to pay attention that if any lives are lost, it's one too many. So if there's a way that we can look at evaluating mental health and mental fitness and take that as a mediating variable in somebody's ability to fly and measure risk appropriately, right, not reactively, those are things we have to consider in how they do their job better as pilots and how we support them, you know, as the airplane industry, and even if people in a community to do their job.
I think the key word that you said is risk. Everything in life has some inherent risk about it.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Erik Fisher, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Insightful.